The shadows tell of many stories, of betrayal, of power, of war. But among them, one is never spoken. A tale hidden between the folds of what could have been if one man made a different choice. Zed, the Master of Shadows, was a name feared across all of Ionia. The killer of Kusho, the betrayer of balance. But what if Zed, in a moment of truth, chose not to kill, but to save? In the official records of the Kinku Order, there is no mention of deviation. The scrolls speak only of balance upheld and traitors cast out. But history, as always, is written by those who win. And in this tale, history lies. The year was 993 AN. Zed and Shen, childhood rivals and brothers in arms, descended into the Verdant Rift, chasing whispers of a corrupted spirit beast. A malicious fusion of wild chi and dark Noxian experimentation. The beast had already consumed 3 villages by the time the Kinku had responded. Time was of the essence. The ambush came at dusk. Noxian scouts hidden in the cliffside, and the spirit beast emerged from the mist, all teeth and echoing screams. In amongst the chaos, Shen was wounded, slashed across the chest by spectral talons that seared through his protective wards. Protocol demanded retreat. Preserve the balance. Do not escalate. But Zed couldn't watch his brother die. Not again. Not like their first mission when they'd lost another. He defied every command and wrapped Shen in his cloak, channeling the forbidden art of shadow magic. Not to strike, but to conceal. They vanished into the mist, moving through unseen places, drifting like wraiths. When they reappeared 3 days later, Shen was alive, and Zed's mastery of the shadows was no longer a secret. For the first time, the shadows obeyed not out of hatred, but out of loyalty. In the days that followed, whispers spread beyond the Kinku temples. Ordinary Ionians heard tales of a shadow warrior who wielded forbidden magic, not for conquest, but for protection. For the first time, the people questioned whether the Kinku's ancient ways were enough. Back at the Kinku monastery, judgment awaited. Zed stood before the elders, his shadow flickering unnaturally. His mastery of the Umbra arts, long outlawed by Master Kusho himself, now bared for all to see. Master Kusho, the Eye of Twilight, did not speak for a long time. He stared at Zed, then Shen, pale, weakened, but alive. The murmurs of the council grew loud. Words like corruption, danger, and heretic danced through the air. But Shen stood. He removed his armour and bowed before the elders. If the laws of order had been followed, I would be dead. Zed broke the rules to preserve life. That is balance. Kusho was torn. He loved both boys like sons, but tradition was heavy, and the Kinku were centuries old. In a compromise, he appointed Shen as the spiritual leader and Zed as the martial one, dual heirs to the future of the Kinku. But not all agreed. A splinter group began to form. They called themselves the Crimson Talon. They whispered the purity of a return to the old ways. Among the initiatives, divisions deepened. Training sessions turned to debates, scrolls were stolen, statues defaced. One temple in southern Ionia even declared independence, choosing to follow the Crimson Talon's teachings. A cold war brewed in the heart of a sacred order. When Noxus launched its full invasion, Ionia shattered. Villages burned, rivers ran red, and spirits howled through the desecrated forests. The Kinko, once passive guardians, were forced to act. Under Shen and Zed, a new strategy was born. The Twin Path Doctrine, a philosophy blending harmony and adaptability. Shen led spiritual healing and protective rituals, while Zed introduced tactical warfare using disciplined shadow manipulation. Zed formed a special unit, the Order of Dusk. Trained in stealth, deception and sabotage, they disrupted Noxian supply lines and liberated prisoners. Some Kinko viewed this with suspicion, but others saw results. Akali, headstrong and gifted, became the first to master both paths. Kennen, the Heart of Tempest, ran covert operations and delivered messages across the continent, becoming the network's lifeblood. Beyond battlefields, the Order became scholars. They began translating forbidden texts into practical teachings. They collaborated with spirit walkers, monks, even reclusive Vastaya. But balance, once disturbed, demands consequence. The Crimson Talon declared the Twin Path heresy. They struck at temples, assassinated acolytes, and sought to reclaim the sacred scrolls Zed had rewritten. Their leader was revealed. Corrin of the Silver Veil, a former elder of the Kinko. Dismissed for his fanaticism, he now led the Talon with zealotry, branding Zed a false prophet. Tensions escalated into skirmishes. Some Ionians accused the Kinko of becoming warmongers. Others praised them as the last defence against oblivion. The line between saviours and sinners blurred. Then came the unthinkable. The Crimson Talon infiltrated the monastery and captured Master Kusho. His location unknown, his fate uncertain. The council was paralysed by fear and doubt. Shen advocated for caution, believing negotiation might spare further bloodshed. Zed, furious and resolute, refused to wait. He vowed to bring Kusho back, or die trying. First, he left alone, but then Shen followed. Through forbidden catacombs and spirit-cursed ruins, the brothers descended into the Hallow Shrine, a sanctum twisted by corrupted chi. Crimson Talon zealots barred the way, but none could stand against the fury of two masters united. At the heart of the shrine, Kusho lay dying, tortured, bound, yet he smiled at their arrival. "I always knew it would take both of you," he whispered. In a climactic battle, Zed and Shen faced Corrin. Shadows clashed with spirit light in a duel that cracked the very walls of the shrine. Alas, Corrin fell, but not without cost. Kusho's wounds were fatal. With his final breath, he named no successor, only successors. Shadow and light. 2 eyes, 1 vision. The shrine collapsed. Shen and Zed emerged carrying Kusho's body. Neither of them spoke for days, but in silence a new unity was forged, not of compromise, but of conviction. Years passed. The Kinko, once divided, became whole again. The Twin Path was no longer radical, it was reality. Akali became the blade of unity, teaching the next generation to wield both silence and force. Kennen, a storm between shadows, guided young minds through the emotional burdens of war. The temples reopened, not as isolated relics, but as sanctuaries of evolution. Zed, now revered rather than feared, became a mentor. No longer did he hide in the darkness. His teachings emphasised control, focus and intent. The shadows, once a symbol of fear, became a tool of balance. Even across the ocean, Ionia changed. Diplomats visit the Twin Path temples. Young soldiers questioned their loyalties. Some Noxians, disillusioned by war, defected to Ionia and became students of the balance they once tried to destroy. And far across the continent, in a Noxian war room, General Swain watched. The Raven saw visions of a future where Ionia did not kneel. He saw the Twin Path as the greatest threat to his conquest, because he knew when shadow and light walk together, no empire stands unchallenged. And so, the story never told, the tale of what could have been, had Zed chose to save instead of strike. Hey folks, hope you enjoyed this alternate path for Zed and the rise of the Twin Paths. But next time, we're heading somewhere colder. What if Freljord united under Lissandra? 3 sisters, 2 fallen, 1 throne of ice. The war ends, the Watchers rise, and the world begins to freeze. Don't miss the next chapter of Legends ReWritten.